Bem-vindos a Inteligências Lúdicas. Meu nome é Rodrigo Manique, estou aqui com o meu caro amigo e irmão José Fernandes.
Olá, pessoas e pessoas. E aí, Manique, tudo bem?
Tudo bem, muito contente de estar aqui com você. E hoje vamos, nessa época de pandemia, né? A gente está vendo aí que a vacina já está começando a vir em breve. Então, o que acontece, Zé? Aproveitar que a gente está aqui, a gente está já vendo a vacina vindo aí, por que não trazer um perito, né, do tema, né? Porque a gente está passando por uma pandemia, então decidimos trazer um perito do tema para falar sobre isso, que é nada mais que...
Olha ali.
Matt Leacock.
Matt Leacock. Poxa, eu que agradeço, você que teve fez essa ponte aí, e a gente pôde entrevistar, hoje a gente vai entrevistar um designer de jogo muito querido, pelo menos é um dos meus favoritos, foi quem fez um dos primeiros jogos modernos que eu comprei, e que tem uma especialidade muito peculiar, né? É claro, ele faz outros tipos de jogos, mas ele tem uma especialidade de fazer jogos cooperativos, né? Que eu gosto bastante. Aqui em casa a gente gosta muito de jogos cooperativos. E quem é essa pessoa que vamos entrevistar hoje, Rodrigo Manique?
É Matt Leacock. Mr. Matt Leacock, it is good to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm doing really well, thank you.
Hi, Matt. It's an honor to have you here. You are one of my favorite designers, and I have a lot of some of your games. My channel here in YouTube, it's young, it's recent, but I have a podcast with the same name, Mesacast, and one of the episodes it's just talking about your cooperative games.
Oh, great.
And we have this special just about you, and that's because you are so important to us to interview you.
Oh, that's great to hear. Thanks.
So I would like to ask you first, why creating co-op games?
Oh, well, that's a funny story, really. I never really thought cooperative games would be any fun at all, actually, until I played, I think it was Reiner Knizia's Lord of the Rings in 2000. Before that, I thought that they were something that little kids would play just to learn how to share and care with each other. But I played Lord of the Rings with my wife, and we really enjoyed it. And it was something that we found that we liked playing together, as opposed to really heavily competitive games, because it didn't matter who won or lost. We always had a good time playing them. And so I thought, hey, I'll try my hand at it. And I came up with Pandemic, and the rest is history after that.
Such a big hit, and many others. And what did you do before becoming a board game designer?
Yeah, I studied graphic design and did that for a few years, and then moved into interaction and user experience design. So basically how humans interact with software was sort of my specialty. And I was able to use a lot of those skills and just transfer them right into game design.
Oh, nice. Because I remember when I entered the hobby back then, way back in 2006 or 7, I started looking at BGG for some games, and one of them caught my eye because of its name, Borderlands.
My Borderlands or the other Borderlands? I think there's a few games.
Yeah, I noticed it. I didn't find any images at the time, or just some people talking about it. Yeah. But the idea of at the time of building an empire and monsters, like a kingdom, was interesting. Was that your first game?
I think that was, that I did that in college. I was working at a company that made like spray paint or something, and I had access to some printing equipment, and a friend of mine from college helped fund it, and we ran 120 games, card games. That was the first one I ever did, and I think I sold it maybe one or two hobby stores, and then I ended up selling some at Spiel in 2000 as well, out of a booth, along with another game called Lunatic's Loop. But yeah, I think that was the first game that I hand produced. Not very many copies that exist.
That's nice. It's an experience learning, and 1995, I believe, if I remember.
Oh wow! Okay, all right, that's good. Yeah, it was not a very good game. Let's just say that.
One of my favorite games that you did, it's this one.
Oh yeah.
Forbidden Island, Ilha Proibida in Portuguese. And this is my goal to teach everyone I know this game. And everyone that I teach love the game. For them it's always a new experience. No, we are fighting against the game, not against each other. Whoa, that's a brilliant idea. And so then we have this. I love this Forbidden Desert and Forbidden Sky that I don't have yet. Do you have any plans to continue the series? Do you making more Forbidden games in the Forbidden series?
Yeah, I do actually. I've been working with the publisher to try to figure out what the next product would be. Part of the challenge is not repeating ourselves and making sure we can come up with a game that has its own purpose and doesn't like duplicate what we've already done with the other games. So I've been working on that a little bit this year. Nothing really to announce other than there's definitely some interest there.
So nice. So nice. How was the challenge to translate a heavy game such as Through the Ages to a more streamlined game like Roll Through the Ages? That game blew my mind at the time.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, actually, Roll Through the Ages was based on Avalon Hill's Civilization. It just turned out that the publisher that picked it up also did Through the Ages, so they kind of made this new title by combining the two concepts together. So that game was a result of a game design challenge that I had with some friends of mine. The challenge was to come up with a civilization building dice game you could play in 40 minutes. And I just loved those constraints. So I think I spent, the idea was to you had 1 month to come up with the game. And I got about 80% of the way there in that month in November and brought it to a game convention and pitched it, and people were very excited about it. So I spent another few months refining it. But I do like taking complex systems and trying to whittle them down into something simple. And I didn't have, 8 or 9 or 10 hours to play Civilization anymore, but it was easy to find, half an hour, 45 minutes to play it. So it was a lot of fun to make it work in that amount of time.
Yeah, that my copy is still, it's a little bit old here, but it works pretty well. I have to print again on the
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's a hit. It's a
yeah,
hit.
it was big before roll and writes were really big, right? Because it's actually
yeah.
Very nice.
So my turn. What have you been doing during this lockdown?
I gotta say things are on the business wise and work wise pretty much the same as they've ever been. I'm lucky in that I can work out of this home office, and most of my collaborations have been remote already. So I just continue to meet with co-designers and publishers remotely. The big change is there's no conventions, so I don't have an opportunity to connect with people, players, and renew those relationships with colleagues that you get from conventions. So I really miss that. But it has been fun being able to at least play games online, and it has allowed me to kind of explore some new tools for like playtesting online in real time. I did a lot of playtesting by mailing sets out already, so that really didn't change very much. But it was kind of interesting trying to adapt to doing a lot of playtesting online now.
In the lockdown, talking about lockdown, what inspired the design of the pandemic? How was the development of that game? Wonderful game.
Yeah, I started working on it. I think around 2004, if memory serves, and that was not long after SARS had hit, and pandemics were very much in the news. It was like SARS and bird flu and swine flu all kind of were very much in the news, and so it seemed like a really good topic for a cooperative game because the enemy is sort of unseen and everybody can get behind trying to defeat viruses and disease. At the time, though, pandemics were something to me that kind of happened to other people in other places, not like what we're going through today. It's been very surreal seeing COVID come through because it really is just a full-on pandemic. It's affecting everyone. But at the time, yeah, it was mostly inspired by SARS.
Okay. Yeah, I still have the first edition. I have to bring because they didn't send to. Yeah, that's the second edition, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. That came out in 2013. The original edition was 2008. Yeah.
Mine is with the wooden cubes. Everything
right, and the really big ponds, right there.
Exactly. I do have this one too, as well.
Sure. Yeah.
This is the Zona Critica. It happens in the United States. Very cool game. Cthulhu as well, but
I love the Cthulhu one. I love my wife. I believe it's her. I believe it's her favorite.
Oh, is that right?
Version. What's your favorite version of Pandemic?
Let's see. I kind of wish I could play the legacy games, but there's no surprises in them. They were the most fun to work on, I think. I think my favorite one is like a tie between the base game, just because I'm often teaching it to new people, and I really do have a special place in my heart for both Pandemic Iberia and Fall of Rome. I like both of those. A large part of it is just the additional mechanisms and the artwork for both of those is just really stunning.
Yes, astounding. Yes, they are very beautiful games. And in 2008, could you foresee the success that Pandemic would be? Do you think the legacy mechanics enriches the Pandemic experience? I think it's some people asked me to ask you this, our viewers.
Oh, so yeah, two questions there, right? In 2008, I had no idea that the game would take off the way it did. I was just happy to get my first game published and was hoping maybe we'd get to see a second printing. I also didn't think the game was robust enough I wasn't even sure I could do an expansion for it, honestly, because I thought at the time I did everything kind of intuitively, and so I didn't know if the game's engine was robust enough to take on other expansions and so on. I thought it was kind of fragile. Working with Tom Lehman, we realized soon after, no, it's not. There's a lot of things you can do with it. And yeah, I don't know. Today's events are more surreal than anything to me. I think there are messages in the game, though, that resonate because it's really about trying to cooperate to overcome disease and communicate effectively. And I think those messages really resonate, even if the game itself really isn't a simulation of disease spread so much. It's not like super science-based. It's more like a cinematic experience that you're playing.
Yeah, it's a social game as well, right? Making people... Some companies, including here in Brazil, they use that game to make the people try to work. Let's see if you can work with not
go together.
Go together as an experience, and they fail, and they know, look what you did wrong, what you did.
Yeah.
I use with my students sometimes.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, there's a medical school in the UK that's done that. They've actually watched medical teams play the game, actually observe them and their communication style, and of course they inevitably lose, and they give notes on what they're doing well and what they can improve on, as like an effort to talk about how you really need to be challenging assumptions and contributing and not blocking and questioning, all these different types of behaviors, and they can talk about it, then they play a second time and generally do a lot better.
Amazing.
It's
amazing idea. Let's talk about Thunderbirds.
Okay, great.
Yes, it's a very popular show here in Brazil. And do you like the show? You're a fan of the show? How was to develop that game?
Yeah.
You had to have a research, or it's just pop up from your mind?
No, that's an interesting story. So I had never heard of Thunderbirds before I got the pitch for that game, and The publisher, Chris Birch, was the guy at Modifius who cornered me at Spiel in Essen one year, and he's like, you gotta do this game. It's gonna be great. I've got this license. It's perfect for a cooperative game. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll take a look at it. I'd never heard of it. So I went and I watched a few episodes, and he was right. Not only was the show really interesting in the many different ways that you probably all know, and it's inspired so many different filmmakers, but it is just such a natural fit for a cooperative game. So I went all in. I bought the toys. I got one up here. I've got, Thunderbird 2. I've got all the different source books. I watched all the different episodes. I watched the movies, and I built up like a database of all this stuff, and also really relied very heavily on the playtest community in the UK, in London, and had a really great development partner work on it with me. So it was a lot of fun. It's the first IP-based game I had worked on before, and it was just kind of interesting to try that out, see what it'd be like.
It would be my excuse to play with the small toys, and
exactly.
Let's play one with the big toys, with the puppets.
Yeah, and I hope someday you can make a game based on Space 1999 from the same company.
Yeah.
I love that series.
I remember building a model of the big ship in that with my dad when I was a kid. I never watched the show, but I thought that model was amazing, and just a fond memory of building that with my dad. Yeah,
it could be a nice co-op game, a lunar base alpha. The role, it was the first, I believe, with a game with about creating your empire, your civilization, right? But there's one called Era. It's one of your latest games, and games in Brazil like it very much. How was to develop that game? The game has very interesting components.
Yeah, this was a joy. I mean, the game was originally conceived of as a follow-up to Roll Through the Ages, and the original concept was to make it a roll and write game with a pad of paper. And I put that together. It took me about a year to develop it, and I looked at it with the publisher, Plan B and Eggert Spiel, and it really didn't have any table presence at all. And they challenged me, hey, what would happen if you turn this into a game with three-dimensional components? And I'm like, wow, that sounds amazing. And I had just bought a laser cutter before that, so I thought, well, this would be great. I can try this thing out and see what it'd be like to build something. And I took the whole game apart and put it back together again, knowing that there'd be three-dimensional components, and tried to play to the strength of having something physical like that, and was able to make a much better game, and definitely a game that looks great as you're playing it. It's not only fun to like handle the pieces, but when you're done, you want to take a picture of whatever you've built because it's just so beautiful. So it was a lot of fun putting that together. Time consuming to make little miniatures, but it helped kind of help you understand the physicality of it, like how big things needed to be and how the relationship should work in a way that it would be harder to do just with pencil and paper or tiles.
Yes, it's I don't remember the way we say. It's a joy to see the game, how you create, and you have to feed and then the walls and the buildings. When the game ends, wow, such a beautiful view. No, I don't want to. I will put here. I will buy a new one, and that one will be there myself.
It was fun to test that back when we could have conventions, because we'd be playing it, and then people would just stop one after another and take a look at it, because it really is attractive when you're playing it.
I love city building games, and this is one I want to play. Sure. How did you become a full-time game designer? And if you could give some tips for someone that is willing to become a game designer full-time?
I think the short answer is I just got really, really lucky. Pandemic was a good product, but it also came along at just the right time with a really good publisher at a time when games were starting to take off, and it helped define the genre. And it just had this big positive feedback loop where I had a publisher was looking for more content, and I produced it, and it was well received, and it just kind of fed and snowballed. And what that meant was I could change it from a side gig, something I did kind of in my spare time, to something I did one day a week, and then gradually made the shift where we determined that I could leave my day job and switch over to doing games full time. But it's difficult to do. There's not a whole lot of money when you're working off royalties off of these games. They don't sell that many units, and the margin's not huge. And you multiply, a small number times a small number, and it's difficult to do. So if you do want to crack into it, I could suggest, if you wanted to do what I did, it was try to focus on making really high quality products in your spare time and just focus on really high quality stuff, wait to see if one can catch, and then just try to capitalize on that, make it grow. I wouldn't try to go for high quantity, just making lots and lots and lots of shoddy games. I think it makes more sense to try to focus on really good experiences, because there's so many products out there right now that the games that you're providing really do have to stand out and be pretty exceptional to get noticed.
Nice. What are some of your favorite board games you like, for example, or one of your favorite board games you like to play?
We've been playing a lot of Reiner Knizia stuff lately. And I could say that the last 20 years, they tend to be shorter and just highly well-crafted games, and balanced, and a lot of attention to detail. So my eldest and I play a lot of El Dorado, which is a deck building race game, which we enjoy quite a bit. With my youngest daughter, she likes more creative games, so we'll play things like Telestrations or Just One, more party type stuff. And then I've got a gaming group that I've been meeting with for over 20 years, like every Tuesday night. And these days we've been playing, whatever's available on Board Game Arena. But when we can meet in person, it's generally a mix between some old favorite, every other week, and something new every other week. But my favorite games are generally the ones that I'm currently working on, because I have to get excited about them in order to want to work on them. So those are my favorites. The ones. So I've got a dexterity game right now that I'm working on that I just love, and I've been playing that as much as I can with my kids.
I thought you'd say Pandemic.
Well, certainly that one stands out for sure. It's built my career.
Do you play
I
often?
do like it very much. You can't make 12 Pandemic products, or I don't know how many there are, Pandemic products without enjoying it.
Great. And about game designers, top three game designers.
Top of your head.
Oh, let's see. I would say Vlado Chvátil, because I love how diverse his designs are. There's just, you can tell he's just having a good time, and the range of work he's done is so extraordinary, between things like Dungeon Lords or like Codenames. There's just such a mixed bag of ideas. Guys, I would call out Knizia just for the sheer tremendous amount of work and the craftsmanship, and how he's sort of paved the way for other professional game designers to kind of like model how you can be a business person and do that. And let's see, Antoine Bauza. I just end up playing a lot of his stuff. I really like it. And again, there's a lot of range, and he's such a nice guy. So those are the first three that come to mind for me.
Well,
excellent choices. I agree.
Yeah, totally. And I have one more question. This was not scripted, but if I may, Nitwit.
Yeah.
I really hope some company brings it here. Why? I use it at school with my students. I brought some copies some years ago because I couldn't find it to bring to Brazil. And some other teachers, oh my goodness, we have to use it. It's so nice. A beautiful social game. I don't have my copy here. I left it at school, but after I finished the video, I will put my photo playing that game with my kids. And the idea with the spools and the cloth spins was amazing. How was that?
That one came together really quickly, and it was just a joy to play with because the game's made out of spools and string and little tags and clothespins, and so you can imagine and buttons. Prototyping it was really fun, and you end up making these really crazy Venn diagrams with all this equipment, and then any casual passerby will look at it and it looks like this gigantic mess that you have to decipher. So if you're into word games and social games, and also spatial puzzles, it's a very strong intersection of those two things. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what the game is for. People trying to decipher Venn diagrams in real time using string. So check it out. I mean, if that sounds like it would appeal to you, the game's physicality, like the colors and the materials are really something else. The publisher did an extraordinary job on that.
Yeah, I really hope some company brings it here because it's for schools and for family games as well to learn new words, and that's amazing. It's amazing.
Cool, thanks.
And very nice. That game, people here in schools are using. I unfortunately have only 4 copies I brought, but
only 4.
And first of all, I'd like to thank you again for joining us. And as I said before, you were one of my favorite game designers, and Forbidden Island was one of my first modern board games, and it's not a gift. Your presence here is not a gift just for me, just for our viewers, but to Rodrigo as well, because today, the day we are recording this, is his birthday.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday, Rodrigo.
No, my goodness. Yeah. The day you sent me, oh, okay, we can record on the 11th of January. Oh, my goodness. That made my day.
Oh, that's great.
And so, do you have any words for your fans here in Brazil?
Oh, I just hope you can all hang in there during lockdown, and I hope you enjoy the games, and I hope they're helping you get through it. And I'm looking forward to when we can all play in person again. So hang in there, everybody.
Thank you very much for your time.
The vaccine is coming.
Yeah. I'm playing your games at home, so
great. Well, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. We are thankful for your being here, for the ideas you brought to us. And those games make people happy. It makes us pass this entire process we are having here, having fun at home with our families.
That's really great to hear.
Join together against the virus.
Exactly.
Sounds familiar?
Yeah. What a best moment to bring you here. Special day, and thank you very much. We have here our dearest Matt Leacock here visiting us, bring us a little part of the story, very important for our gamers in Brazil, in Argentina and Chile, and the other countries. I will be translating this and subtitling. Thank you very much, Mr. Matt Leacock.
All right, take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Pois é. Nossa, Zé, cara, curtiu a entrevista dele?
Muito legal, né?
Cara,
aí o meu inglês ali deu umas escorregadas, mas deu para entender. Ainda mais com as legendas aqui, deu para entender.
O nosso inglês, porque o que acontece? Você tem que levar em consideração o fator. É um cara que você curte os jogos dele, ele é um star, né? Ele não se sente um star, mas ele é.
Sim.
Então ele é um cara que todo mundo curte, gostaria de conhecer, então você acaba a emoção.
É nervoso, né?
Exatamente.
É nervoso. Apesar da gente ter escrito as perguntas, né? Dá uma lida assim, mas mesmo assim, galera, dá um nervosismo assim, falar com o cara, pô, eu jogo desse cara há anos, caramba, eu jogo Pandemic, caramba, e agora eu tô falando com ele aqui ao vivo, assim, pá. Dá um dá um medão, assim, mas foi maneiro, foi maneiro. Espero que ele tenha curtido também.
Pois é, ele já mandou várias mensagens aqui, aqui depois do bate-papo. Ele é muito atencioso mesmo. Não deixe de se inscrever no canal. Se inscreva no canal. Vai aqui, ó, no canal do meu amigo Zé Fernandes, o Mesacast, que está no canal YouTube também. Vou deixar o link na descrição aqui. E também se inscreva no canal aqui para dar uma força. Deixa o seu joinha, porque quanto mais rápido os nossos canais crescerem, mais convidados, mais conteúdos poderemos trazer para vocês. Um abraço para... Oi?
Achei que você ia falar quanto mais canais a gente vê, que mais banguela a gente
Não vou cortar isso, não. Um abraço para todos, galera, e até o próximo programa.